it would take us a long time to go back in time here and start reviewing non-publics and release, take a vote on it, release. And, you know, that takes time, and we try to tend to the business at hand. You can see how difficult and time. I mean, we're early tonight, it's 8:20.
We're not done yet, don't call it done.
The council appreciates that, and I'll be sure to relay that sentiment to
That
the
public,
council.
the audit, the public portion that can be released will be released to the public in general, and that will include the town council, because they're, you'll get it at the same time that the public will get it. There'll be no, as far as I'm concerned, there'll be no special exceptions made that the town council is going to get it prior to being released.
The only thing I was asked if they could be here, and I don't have any problem with
Yeah,
when
sure.
we release it to the public. If the town council wants to come here and sit here, that's fine.
That was a sentiment that the chair shared with me as perhaps a joint session because I think it's very important that whatever the findings are, that there's a unity that exists and a clear focus and a clear direction from both aspects.
Mhm.
So that's the council's wish on that.
I just have one thing to add in terms of public and non-public. I think what the public has seen is that this commission has taken actions on requests, right to know requests, and others to do our due diligence, provide information where it's appropriate. While we have non-public at the end of this meeting, the intent, if there was information that was requested by the public, would be to do that up front in a meeting, not wait till a subsequent meeting to release it. So you would, there's still the likelihood that you'll have short non-public sessions in a meeting to bring information to the public as requested if there's business that we need to conduct in order to facilitate that. So.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Just real quick. Along those lines then, first, I would also obviously be against having limited public input. I do firmly believe that over the last several years that I've been providing input over here, that I have made a difference in front of the commission, either this commission or other commissions. We are the feedback to the citizens yourselves who are appointed through the regular citizens. And for 3 minutes, sure, I could talk fast and make it all happen for you, and then you might hear anything I say, or I'm better when I deliberately say something written down and in a calm manner, okay? Yes, sometimes the perception of those who attend on a regular basis are, we've been called all kinds of names. But I believe the people who come here make a difference. One way or the other. We don't always agree in this room. Sometimes this room is so tense you can cut it with a knife. But everyone who does attend here serves a purpose for this commission. And I don't think 3 minutes time for once a month is adequate. And I do think you should keep it to 5 minutes. We only attend here once a month. And if you give me 5 minutes of somebody's time, which I don't always reach, I think I try to keep it concise and clear, and often provide you information that you can act with this commission. I personally feel that I provide value to this commission, and that's why I attend. And no mean that is that derogatory for your impact whether you go to 3 or 5. The SRO update was on the public agenda tonight, but all we got was the words, "We have a new interim SRO." Seems to me, and then the words were, and then now the rest of it has to go in non-public. If we're going to talk about the position itself, that's not known. So, wasn't there more information that could have been more forthcoming than that, other than going into personalities?
That's what we did. At least that's what I did. And I'm not taking anything away, but that's what we did when we talked about the SRO position and we talked about the requirements.
Sure.
There was no personalities involved, but I made sure that the public was aware that the requirement, a request was being made to change that. And we took our action and acted appropriately. It's difficult not to, I've spoken about that position before, and I've made it very clear that it's not about the personality or the person involved, it's about the position and the rank. And,
Don't the public need to know who this interim SRO is? I know.
Not
He's already
necessarily because-
he's already attended the schools, he's been in the schools, why can't we just say his name? What's wrong with that? The students meet him every day now at this point, the parents see him as the cars are driving up to the school, and, I mean, it's his name, but he is the interim administrator. I just thought there would be a little more that could be publicly announced other than that.
I wonder, I have to wonder if it, we try to stay away from names, and for good reason, because it can come back and get us in trouble. So we don't, I don't mention names, and there could be discussion being had in non-public about different things that I can't talk about in public. I don't mean to go around and around about it.
And I know
but-
some of it too. So it's out there already. I'm not saying that you need to say it in public because it's already out there. I'm just saying the SRO now, and the interim person is so-and-so. He now is stationed at so-and-such a school at such and such a time. So if you need that SRO's attention, this is the person you need to contact. That's not non-public. That is serving the public, and here's the SRO who's in charge of it for the time being. That's going more to talk about the SRO update without automatically in a rote way saying automatically and by habit saying we're going to non-public after this. There should have been, in my view, more discussed with that SRO update on the agenda. That's all I need to say.
Good
Thanks.
point, thank you. Good point.
About the 3 minutes, just so I make an observation, I want to drag this on about the 3 minutes. You very rarely hear this timer go off, very rarely. And you may think you're here for a long time, but most people are right at 3 minutes. Matter of fact, you still got another 2.5 minutes
Oh,
left.
okay.
But you see what I mean? It's not to stifle it, it's not
Yeah.
to prevent input, it's to make this.
to perpetuate.
Right, but currently, right now, is the auditors or the audit company getting information from the department? About,
From the company, yes.
they're getting it from the company, correct?
Well, and from us, but or from the company.
All right,
Both, I guess. Whatever they need, from whatever source they need.
all right, but I don't think we should get anything from the review from the computer company until the audit is complete. I think that they need to do their business first, complete what they have to do, and if they have issues with it, then they can take it up and it'll be written out in their audit and agreement. And then if we have questions or need an explanation, then we can get the computer company to come in and give us their version, if you will, or tell us whether they agree or disagree with whatever the audit company finds about their system. But I think the audit needs to be completed, they need to be unhampered, they should be able to move full forward, and I don't think we should be discussing that in public at this time.
Commissioner Sheriff, do you agree with that?
Without knowing, I don't really know what the basis was for having the system be presented at this point.
I think this was the chief's, I'm not gonna say answer, but him and I had a discussion, and I was just expressing my concerns over some of the things that we have requested over the course of the year, and we're not able to either do or get that information, and it was a little bit frustrating, along with the fact that when the audit started, that they needed some information and it was a little bit difficult for them. So, quote, did I say it was antiquated? Probably I did. Is that the wrong terminology? Who knows? But I'm certainly willing to wait until the audit is done. My thing was, last year,
Public input, in my opinion, if more people would come, if they only had a 3-minute period where they want to talk, that would give more of an opportunity for 10 people to give theirs
Sure.
versus 5 people to have 5 minutes apiece. That's just my personal view.
Sure.
I think we're one of the longest,
Yes, we are.
one of the
And
longest
in
boards
fact,
around.
it was
for a minute.
really two things. It was basically that we kind of surveyed around to see amongst the town how people were doing it. And given the fact that we were doing it twice, it meant that each person essentially could get 10 minutes, 5 minutes at the beginning and 5 minutes at the end. And I think part of the reason why it came up is that there were some evenings that we took public input, and by the time we entertained everybody and let everybody have their public input, that evening, we went 42 minutes, besides the late things that we did because of the non-publics and whatnot. And this was a way of still allowing folks, you're still gonna have 2 public inputs, one at the beginning and one at the end, but they're gonna be 3 minutes instead of the 5 minutes.
I would just caution that you don't adopt the town's policy. Last week, I spoke second after a woman that spoke for 12 minutes, and I was not the last person. The 15-minute total theory,
Right.
I'd rather have you go to 3, because it puts the next people really
And
with
that's the-
zero
that's the
time.
other- That's the other
And-
thing, and we did look at that.
But-
And no, this is not, comparing us to the town, but we felt that because so many people attend, we have to be fair about this, and we have to, if I allow you 3 minutes or 5 minutes, I have to also allow Mr. Myville to have that same time, as well as somebody else who comes here, and whether or not one is on one side of what is being said and the other person is on the other side. But we did go through some evenings that by the time we got, I'm not saying you're very few this evening, but you're a lot less than what we had some evenings. Some evenings, we had as many as 7 or 8 on one side and just as many on the other side. And when we got done, it was 42 minutes.
And if I could just remind you, the rules governing non-public also state that you can limit non-public if it's a repeat of what the other
Right,
people are
right.
saying. And I think if I'm thinking of the night you're talking about, that's what was really going on, and we were very patient on this end, I think. But-
And I do appreciate, they were very, very
Yes,
patient.
I don't know what
because
you're talking about, but
And I would also caution, there are a lot of speakers that come here that have nothing to do with the police commission or police department business. And
it's-
you could probably stop them right then and there. If you're not gonna talk about policemen, you should be able to say, what do you want us to do about it?
Well, I agree with the other commissioners about, I don't want to have an allotted time for everybody. In other words, because I don't think it's fair if somebody has, 12 minutes and somebody, now we got to divide 3 minutes up to 3 people. It's not, everybody should have equal amount of time to talk, period. But we like to keep it fore and aft, before we get into it. After you hear what's going on in the meeting, if you have a concern about it, you bring it up in the end of the meeting and say, this, that, or the other thing. It's just, as long as you understand that the sincerity of this commission is to be,
It's not to stifle anybody here.
Okay.
Yes,
J.R. Willett, 3
Yeah.
Summerfair Street. I hope you don't feel like we're wasting your time here.
No.
A lot of the information, we actually work really hard at bringing the information forward to you because we feel that you're unaware of a lot of events that actually take place in this department. So sometimes most of the information that we're gathering is really coming from inside this department that needs to get out there in order for you to be aware of what's happening out there. I don't want to sit here every month going through 5 minutes of public input twice at each meeting, but unfortunately there's a lot of turmoil in this department, and it continues today. So I would strongly suggest leaving it the way it is right now until we get a better handle on this department, at least till after the audit. Maybe something will change then. That's my feeling on that. Maybe, or the other thing you could consider is maybe going to 2 meetings a month rather than 1, and then cut it down to 3 minutes. Maybe you won't be here until midnight.
we have talked about that, and that's a logistical piece that we'll have to work on if it's all possible, because let's face it, not everybody here has, nights available to them to be here at the police commission meeting.